More than 21,000 police members have been infected with COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic in South Africa. 330 officers have died. Speaking at KwaMashu near Durban today, Police Minister urging police not to hesitate to arrest those breaking new regulations, including the 9 p.m. curfew. It comes after the President announced a return to level 3 lockdown for South Africa during an address to the nation on Monday. The alcohol ban has returned. Other restrictions have been revised as well. To discuss tonight, we're joined by Police Minister Bheki Cele on the line. Thank you for being with us. Minister, condolences to the police force and the family members of these 330 people who died. Given what's going on, how is morale among the force right now, especially that it may be tough, I guess, to police New Year tomorrow?
Good evening to you and to your listeners. Indeed, thanks for condolences. It's a painful time. Francis, with the police, we have created a tradition to say, when police die, we go there to bury them. But I can assure you, many of these 330 have died. We don't do that because of the COVID situation. They die alone and they are buried alone with their families. Instead of giving them honor, sending them in an honor way, we just don't do it. It's quite tough. And even those that they sick, you know that you don't visit to see them in their hospital beds. It's a bad situation. And all of the time, they are there in the front line. At no stage you can tell the police to say, don't report to the duty, don't go there today, because which means there will be a law in South Africa that cannot be enforced. Whereas the Constitution instructs all the police to be part of the law enforcing. Indeed, it's a painful time. Hence, we say to the management, work hard to protect them, to do all what you can do to make sure that the police are protected.
Well, how many members will be out on the ground tomorrow? You're saying there will be no tolerance for anyone out on the roads after 9 o'clock without good reason. What are people facing if they're found to be transgressing?
Well, all police have been called back from their leave. Must be a very serious reason why you are not there, you are sick or any other reason, but all the police are on the boot, and we have cancelled all the leaves and invited the police to come back. But we're also working on extra members on the other enforcement. We are working, especially the management and the command of the South African National Defence Force. They're working on the numbers that will be supporting them, but also other enforcers like your Metro, like your Road Traffic Inspectorate. So we'll expect everybody to be there, especially on the 31st. Look, since I was born many years ago, there was never a time where you sleep at 9 o'clock on the 31st of December. And I'm sure all South Africans, that will be taboo. Some will comply. Quite many of them are complying, and we are very thankful for them. But many of them are not complying. Those that are not complying will have to enforce the law. It's simple. Two things that have come very straight that have been problematic all the time. Your mask, we only tell you to wear your mask, but if you don't, we couldn't do anything. Now we arrest you. But also after 9 o'clock, the curfew, we arrest you. We take you to the custody and make sure that you are processed. As the Minister of Justice has said, the magistrate will see you taken to court. The only bad thing that will be happening to most South Africans is that they'll be manufacturing and coming up with the criminal record, which is a bad thing to have. That's why we are calling. That is not our first prize to arrest you. But if you really don't want to obey the law, we'll have to enforce the law.
Minister, I'm glad you've brought up criminal records. Firstly, I think it's great that this is being enforced. Mask wearing protects us all. But in the first hard lockdown, people were getting arrested for having a braai, say, at a gathering. A lot of people with professional people got records, and that was very serious. I mean, it affects your job prospects. Then there was talk of expunging them. So what are the chances now that we will land up just coming up with an amnesty down the line? When we say criminal record, you're going to get one, is that not perhaps hollow?
Francis, that's why we, as the South African police, were making a call to say it's not our first prize to arrest you. It will be good if you comply. Maybe I haven't seen enough praises for what I've seen for the last 2 days since the president has spoken. I went to Richards Bay, which is one of the hot spots here in KZN, called King Cetshwayo. For the first time, I must say, in the whole mall, in the whole shopping mall, not a single person I witnessed without the mask. It was really amazing and was so good. Even today when I went to KwaMashu, especially inside the malls, let's say and pet those South Africans there. But you are coming back to say what happens to those records. Police don't make the law, Francis. We enforce the law. That's what the Constitution is saying to us. So the laws of expansion and all those kind of things will be done by the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Maybe the Minister of Justice can tell us better what will be the process of expunging these records. But please avoid these criminal records. We don't want them, but if we don't obey the law, we'll have to enforce the law, and that comes with a criminal record.
Minister, I'd really like to ask you something, because you were in KwaZulu-Natal, and that's where one of the super spreader events happened. We know that the Rage event, matriculants from across South Africa converged in Ballito, so many from Gauteng testing positive. Are you asking questions around that, how they were given permission? Were police monitoring what happened there? Because this wasn't an unforeseen event. Rage happens every year.
Yes, but you remember that at that particular time, it was not strict as is, though they broke the numbers. You remember that the outdoor events were 500 in that particular time, though one is told that there were about 4,000, between 3,000 and 4,000 at the Palito one, which is annual and which is this rage. Even the name is rage, and there's real rage that is happening there.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that the police are still having some questions to some people, especially the organizers. We are glad that some of them were stopped, but some people did break the law, though it was not strict as is now, of 100 indoors and 200 outdoors. That time was 500. So I'm sure people, they wanted just to break and beat the law, of which had serious consequences.
Yeah.
1,300 kids were affected, but more than that, 300 members of the families of those kids were infected. Some, I'm told, have lost their life.
Yeah, so will anyone be prosecuted?
Come again?
Will anyone be prosecuted?
Yes, the investigation, these regulations are laws, Francis. So if you break them, you do need to be prosecuted. As exactly, the police must do their work by investigation. I'm saying on the Palito one, I know that there are continuing investigations, especially with the organizers. So yes, that will have to be prosecuted when the investigation is done and the outcomes of the investigation taken to the prosecution to decide whether to prosecute or let go.
All right, Minister, while we have you, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you some questions that I've heard people asking in recent days. If you see a few family members at one of the members' houses, is that deemed to be an indoor gathering? Can you get together with a few close family members on New Year's Day?
No. Well, unfortunately, we are a democratic country, or fortunately, we are a democratic country. I don't think police can really get and peep in the houses and chase people in their own houses to say who is there, unless and except when you do the crime and you run in that particular house. Let's say you shoot somebody, Francis, and you run to a particular house, you have to raid that house. Yeah. But under normal circumstances, I don't think police will do. This is a call we must make to South Africans to say, even if you are a family, you still have to be responsible. Whether you have, some South African families are big, but there's nothing wrong once in many years to cut your figures, keep 5, keep 10, 20 is too big. Just imagine when you get infected and you are 20 of you. And we have evidence, Francis, where families are buried in fives now. In fives. This week you bury 2, next week you bury 3. So families must understand that there is that, but I don't think as the police will be really chasing and peeping in the houses to arrest the families.
Although there was some chasing, I remember in the first hard lockdown, was there ever a consideration this time to come up with a number, a rule of thumb, like the rule of 6 in Britain, say?
Well, as I've said to you, the police enforce the law. We'll only rate the regulation and enforce what is in regulation. We haven't seen that about the families and the figures of the families. So families, they come together and we'll respect that. Unless families begin not to respect, they make the noise in the hood, and the hood begins to have a problem. So we'll have to say to the family, behave. When the families take the alcohol and go and drink on the road, that is public indecency, we'll have to deal with those matters. But when families go in the house to sit down, braai, eat, drink, I want to make that point that the drinking at your house, at your home, at your father's place, your mother's brothers, police would not do anything about that.
Right.
But you can't transfer and that you can't transport, you can't distribute that alcohol from point A to point B. If it is in the house A, you drink it there. If we found it in your boot, we found it in your bag, your handbag or whatever, that would be criminal and we'll arrest you.
All right, so I understand the approach saying let's be adults about this. You can have a small gathering. What about people driving in cars? So if you have a passenger, you're meant to wear masks. What if your passenger is your child or your husband? Presumably then you can tell police, look, we live in the same house. Or is it better to be safe given the regulations right now?
It is encouraged that, for instance, if your husband stay there, but if 4 more cousins, even in that house of the family, it is encouraged that you put the mask. If you are in the car, we stop you. You argue that you are the family. I'm not your family, Francis. So immediately we open the window, we want information from you, we check whether you must put the mask, because police, law enforcers on the road and other authorities and officers are not your family. So even if your mask is not on, it must be there to be able to put it before you communicate with a stranger or any party that you encounter on the road.
All right, Minister, thank you very much for those clarifications tonight. We appreciate your time and, of course, a stern warning ahead of New Year's Eve tomorrow. That was Police Minister Bheki Cele.